Connecting for Life is our national strategy to reduce the loss of life by suicide in Ireland up to 2020. We've set ourselves a national target of a 10% reduction in suicide rates. It's an action plan which sets out the commitments of 10 government departments, all the state agencies that are relevant, and the HSE, to deliver particular actions that are evidence-informed and evidence-based of what works best in terms of suicide prevention in Ireland. Today is really important for us because for the first time we hear a very strong piece of evidence prepared by the University of Bristol and the Samaritans, which talks to us about the impact, positive and negative, of the internet space and social media for people who may be in distress. So it's important that we listen to this research, that it informs our practice and guides our approach in terms of how we support people at risk.
So we're looking forward to being part of a conversation on how we can make sure that people get the support they need from the online environment while minimising risks that exist.
So there's been a lot of anxiety and concern about the online environment and youth suicide and youth mental health in general, not just recently, but maybe going back 10 or 15 years.
We found that a lot of people were looking online for help, but unfortunately they weren't always finding the help that they wanted. So there's a definite thirst out there to use the online environment as a place to gain support or advice. But that needs to be developed further, so that's a real opportunity for suicide prevention, I think, that people are interested in this avenue. There's lots and lots of material out there about methods of suicide, some quite graphic information, so people can really learn how to use methods of suicide or become aware of methods that they would otherwise not be aware of. And also we found that some of the dialogue online about suicide sometimes kind of normalises suicide, makes it seem like it's okay as a thing to do. So whereas people might go on looking for support, they might find that their more negative feelings get reinforced instead, which encourages them along that pathway. Well, it's definitely a very big challenge. I think that there is a need to try wherever possible to restrict some of the material that is there solely with the intent to help people cause harm. But I think there's massive potential to expand online help services and dialogue in a way that would be beneficial for people and helpful, and that will need good moderation and understanding really of why people are going online and how they are using the online world. I think it's quite rare to actually hear the voices of people that have been online using the internet for suicide related purposes, and I hope that we will get more sense of that today and ideas from those voices of where we should go next, what kind of material people want and need.
Great medium and a great source of information, but it also can be dangerous and harmful for people who are vulnerable.
I was really delighted to be here at the symposium to hear from the research that Lucy presented. I think it's much needed because we have such a dearth of evidence about the online space and about suicidal behaviour. What's really interesting is a lot of the practical things that we can do as a result of this research to try to protect young people online and create a more safe environment. What's really interesting is about how young people have asked for immediate support online as opposed to just being signposted to services that maybe are offline in terms of meeting your GP. And I think that that's something that we really do need to respond to. We need to make sure that we're supporting young people online where they're at with the immediacy that they're looking for. I think we also need to support young people to act as peer supporters online. So what we've learned from this research is that the establishment of supportive communities can be a real protective factor for young people who might be at risk of suicide or self-harm. And I think what's really useful is the tools that we already have, things like the active listening tips from the Samaritans, the good practice guide from reachout.com, things that we already have developed that can be of real use in trying to create that safer online environment for young people.
I found today's symposium very informative as someone who's involved in working with mainstream media and advising them around how they report incidents of death by suicide. I think this has opened up a whole new area for me, a worrying area because it's so vast. I think the key thing for me coming out today is awareness, that we need to really create that awareness among young people. I think also the need for cross-departmental and cross-government agency work. We do work intersectorally and cross-departmental, and we need to make sure that continues and happens and we don't drop the ball.
One of the key themes that we've identified is communication and online communication. We have to look at the potential for good in terms of the online, and we know from today and the evidence and the research that has been done in Bristol that there is a lot of potential for people to find help and peer support online. And the challenge really is where there are risks involved also, and to identify and know where those risks and work with the relevant department, the Department of Communication and the other agencies and the platforms, I think is really important for us going forward.